turnaround be in sight for Ericsson? Just maybe, with the telecom gear maker seeing an upturn in its key network equipment business for the first time in more than a year. Chief Executive Hans Vestberg joins me now from Stockholm. You've just said on a call, I think it was a call, that you're not happy with the profitability over the course of the year. What level of profitability would you be happy with?
I think that we know why we had a lower profitability during 2012, because we have increased our investments in R&D, and we also have increased our market share, which has been weighing on our network margins. Now, what we have said, of course, that we believe we should have higher margins, especially with the investment we're doing in research and development. We're spending some $5 billion a year in research and development, and we need a certain level of profitability there to feel that we can really carry on with that. Of course, in the fourth quarter we came back a little bit, but we have more work to do when it comes to efficiency and price management.
You just said there that there's a certain level of profitability that you're aiming for. I suppose I have to ask you again, what is that certain level?
We are not guiding for any certain level. What we have as a long-term objective from the board is to increase our EBIT levels with between 5 to 15% yearly. And that's what we're striving for all the time. Right now we're at the lower point, so of course we need to increase in that range and continue. And that's what management is very focused on. But we're not guiding for any certain percentages when it comes to it. But the only thing we're saying, we're not happy with the profitability that we have right now.
And you've mentioned cost cutting or efficiency savings. Now you're laying off around 1,500 staff in Sweden. Are we going to see more of that worldwide?
I think that is inevitable in a fast-moving business that Ericsson are into. We have businesses in 180 countries. We have a broad product portfolio. Of course, we're going to have dimensioning down and up. I mean, if you look at the year of 2012, we increased the headcount to 110,000 right now, primarily because we're growing in the service business. So we're going to see both sides, and that's what we need to work with as a company, both pulling the brake but also putting on the pedal and accelerate in some areas.
I just want to follow up on that. Where might we see this dimensioning down?
It's hard to say right now. As soon as we know, we'll of course communicate to the market. But we have always ongoing efficiency program, especially in services, where we globalize a lot of our resources from local resources to global resources, building global centers in India, Romania, Mexico, and China that is serving the whole Ericsson in 180 countries. Of course, it's an ongoing transformation in the service area that we have, which is today 42% of our turnover in 2012 was service. Of course, that's a very vital, important part of our business.
As you mentioned, you're active in 180 countries, but one country in particular, the US, is of vast importance to you. How concerned were you by the rather surprising contraction in the US economy? Do you see that continuing, that weakness continuing into the year? And if so, do you have any plans to modify your operations accordingly?
Of course, North America is a very important market for us, and we have been growing quite nicely the last couple of years in North America, both in market share and volume. I think what is important for us is to see the underlying demand. Right now, US is one of a couple of markets in the world that is in the forefront from technology. They're rolling out 4G aggressively. Of course, driven a lot about handsets coming out in that market very early on, and application and apps and all of that. So I think that's very important for us to understand. Is the underlying demand from consumer and enterprises for mobility and broadband continuing? That's the most important. Of course, over time, if macroeconomics not that good, that will finally impact. But as a leading indicator, we look much more to consumer spending and how they use the networks and new hardware and new handsets.
Up until only a few quarters ago, it looked like the industry was perhaps set for a period of consolidation. It was looking quite fragile. Do you think that period of uncertainty and fragility is now past?
It's hard to say. I mean, if you look at our industry, of course, it's still fairly low profitability in the equipment vendor industry. So, of course, if you look from that, logically, it has to be some sort of consolidation. But consolidation can also be that some of us are doing less in the portfolio. We're not doing in all areas. So we're going to see. But from a profitability point of view, sustaining the level of R&D that we have, we need a certain volume and a certain profit to see that happening. Right now, we feel comfortable about the investment we're doing in R&D. We have increased it the last 3 years because we believe that is a very competitive advantage to be very strong on technology.
Okay, final question. Do you see Samsung as your major competitor, and is that why you've sued them?
No, I mean, we have many competitors in many different segments. We have in mobile infrastructure a certain group of competitors, which we are twice the size of number 2 in mobile infrastructure. And there we, of course, have competitors, Chinese vendors, for example. In the service division, we definitely have other type of competitors, not the Asians probably. And then in the billing system, etc., we have American software companies. So I wouldn't say that Samsung is, of course, working in some of our domains, but I wouldn't see them as a primary competitor at this stage.
Okay, Hans, thank you very much for talking to Reuters. That was Ericsson Chief Executive Hans Vestberg. That's all from us for now. I'm Jamie McGeever. This is Reuters.